This is something I never show the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the internet!
Hi, I'm Josie Trinidad, and I was the head of story on Ralph Breaks the Internet. And today I'm gonna walk you through my process of how I storyboard. Once I read the script and kind of get my bearings with how the sequence is, like what the sequence involves and stuff, I usually do these scratchy thumbnails that look like this. And they're sort of only meant as reference for me. And I specifically like to work on this story pad. I draw vertically and then I just draw 4 panels. So today I'm gonna be doing some fixes on Ralph. This is a sequence where Ralph is waiting for his friend Vanellope to show up, and I boarded it like this, and Rich Moore and Phil Johnston wanted some changes to the sequence. And then now I know I'm gonna go in and do some fixes. So instead of Ralph just sort of sitting there and waiting for his friend, they wanted him to be actively like watching the door for Vanellope. So it's a really simple shot. This is not fancy, but I knew that they wanted this empty mug of root beer, and that was supposed to be Vanellope's. And then Ralph's sitting here, and I had him like sort of looking straight to the camera. Again, I would never share this with the world. But Ralph, and he's just gonna draw him like this. And he's waiting there, but he's really kind of nervous. And so I might draw little sweat lines or whatever, and he's sort of just looking there, and I might actually, like I might go, like maybe he starts off kind of looking down. So he's kind of sad and looking down at his beard, and then I'll kind of put on the hair. So I'll be like, that's the face that goes there. The director of story, Jim Reardon, who we've worked on Wreck-It Ralph 1 and Zootopia, Jim does this thing where he starts to tap his fingers. He always does this. And I wanted Ralph to do that. So I remember thinking, oh, wouldn't that be funny if he's sitting there eagerly, like, waiting for Vanellope with this kind of hopeful expression, like, is that her? Is she gonna come through the door? And then I thought, okay, he's holding his root beer. He would be like nervously tapping. So I'll kind of do these little things where and so I'll know that like I'll do a little tap cycle, and sometimes I'll work out the tap cycle, but I won't do it here. So he's waiting, and then he's a little anxious maybe, like a little like that. He might look down, so I'll kind of, he'll maybe do something like that. Should be looking more down, so I'll maybe fix the expression. And this, sometimes I'll even do like same as, so the body I won't redraw. And this is again, like, it's more notes for myself. It's not really, it's absolutely not for the director. It's just me kind of blocking out the scene. A sketch is he's looking out, then B, he'll look down at the mug and kind of think of Vanellope, like where is she? And then maybe he'll hear a noise, and so he'll kind of look up, like someone's at the door. And he'll kind of, huh? Who's that? Again, this is all same as. And then I'll like do the next pose, which is he'll eagerly look up and he's smiling at her. Huh? And then, same as, you'll cut to the door. It's very simple kind of staging, but then like Sonic the Hedgehog comes in or something. It's not Vanellope at all. Maybe you start, actually, you'll start with this would be his point of view, and we see the saloon doors, and they might start kind of halfway closed, and these are the caricatures on the wall, and then you see a hand kind of push it open, and then I would get like a B sketch here where the door has flung open, and you see a character, and I'll kind of determine, oh, maybe it's Sonic. So Sonic comes in, I don't know what he looks like. And then Sonic comes in with a little cat person, and they kind of walk off. So sometimes I'll be like, B sketch, he's going that way. And again, I'll like block the entire scene like this. And sometimes I change my mind and I kind of go like, wait, I started that's my page number 1 and 2 and 3. And so once I've established where the sequence is going, then I will start to make these a little nicer. When I know what I'm doing, that's when I kind of do the fancier drawings. And again, like this is really simple staging, and more more than anything, I'm always thinking like about the character and how the character's feeling, rather than trying to gussy up the staging and try to be flashy and move the camera around, because for me, that's the most important thing, is how the character's feeling and making sure that I convey what the emotion is in my panel. So what I do, I cheat. I use these beautiful drawings done by, these are Dean Wellins's. So Dean draws Ralph very uniquely and really wonderfully. So I'll kind of use this as reference. I work in Photoshop on this Cintiq, and I will just, like, I'll have his drawings next to me and stuff, and sort of knowing my staging. It's a really simple staging. And this would be in the computer. Then I'll just kind of draw it out just a hair nicer. Again, these are story sketches, and so we have that, and I know Ralph is there, and so like that. Here's where I'll sometimes find an expression that I want, or like the right angle. So I'm like, oh, I like that guy. So I'll just start to draw. Sorry, I don't. So he's kind of like, maybe he's a little nervous here. And when I was starting in story, I remember knowing that I didn't want to be too precious with the drawings, because really, they're only on the screen for less than a second, and really everyone always focuses on the eyes. So, I mean, if you draw the hand well, if it's a little bit out of proportion, or you mess up on the clothing, or he's a little bit off model, it's sort of like, no one cares that much. As long as it's sort of, it's close enough and feels like our Ralph, so. But I really like the way Dean has this nice, beautiful shorthand for him. So, just kind of, there's his root beer over here. Something like that. It's not fancy. And I always had that little root beer thing behind. What I love about Photoshop is that you can just use the same layers and stuff. Might be other bar patrons in the back. And this is where, when the drawings look a little fancier, or a little bit more clear, this is when I might show Rich or Phil, the directors, or Jim or someone, to get a little bit of feedback. I forgot I was gonna have him. Oops, kind of do that little tapping cycle. So I started at Disney about 14 years ago. I started as a story trainee. So it was like one of the first times that Disney had this trainee position. And I had a teacher of mine. I went to Cal Arts. This is terrible. This is what I would do. I always sort of knew I wanted to get into story. And previously, they only had animation interns and that sort of thing. And I was a terrible animator. So I asked him to just keep in touch and just, hey, if there was ever a story internship, please let me know. And so, lo and behold, they had one in 2004. So I applied, I did a story test, and then I was accepted. And we did about a 6-month training program where we were given assignments and we had mentors. And then after the mentorship, I started to work on The Princess and the Frog, and I worked on some shorts. And from there, I mean, I was always still, at Disney, you have amazing animators like Dean Wellins and John Ripa and Mark Smith, folks like that who have been animating for 25 plus years with mentors like Glenn Keane, and then there's me, who's like, I do this stuff. And so I always was sort of intimidated, but at the same time, I had this knack for story, and I felt like drawings may be a little loose and rough, but I knew that I was bringing something that I knew that others couldn't. And it was just my point of view, or being a woman, or things like that I brought, that I knew that other folks in the room, they hadn't had that experience. And so I've just been there ever since. So I worked on The Princess and the Frog and Tangled and all that sort of stuff. So I obviously cannot multitask. I can't. also don't draw well when I'm under this kind of pressure. And I look up, see that, and then we'll cut to the door. If it was on the computer, it would be perfect, but it's here, and so then I'm just trying the same things over. My name is Josie, and today I did some very loose, rough sketches of Ralph Breaks the Internet for you.